Today's story comes from a book called The Fifth Revolution by Dr. Emmanuel Joseph. It's a story about a scientist, Dr. Kannan, in Italy. So it goes like this. I was 35 and I was dying. I was a cellular biologist studying intracellular membrane traffic in Napoli, Italy. I had come here for my postdoctoral studies many years before and had stayed on to pursue a career in science. Napoli is generally a very kind place. People here seem to care for others naturally. Even though I am an immigrant here, my lab and my research institute have treated me as one of their own. It started with pain in my abdomen. But with time, the pain became intolerable. There came the day when I had to be rushed to the emergency room. A slew of tests could not place the cause of my pain. My abdomen continued to bloat, and I became a human pincushion as doctors frantically poked and biopsied me. Even though they never told me directly, my multiple visits to the cancer ward told me that they suspected it was cancer. I was right. About a month after my admission into the hospital, the verdict finally came. I had advanced cancer of the stomach. I was given just 2 weeks to live. My own family lives 4,000 miles away, in my hometown in India. So my colleagues became my family. Through the entire ordeal, my supervisor and my colleagues were my constant source of support and comfort. They made sure that not a day went by when I was alone in the hospital. There was always someone from my lab by my bedside at lunch, evening visiting hours. Every single day I was in the hospital. The hospital food was horrible. So my colleagues made sure to bring home-cooked meals every day. One of the people who supported me tremendously was my supervisor's wife. She took on a motherly role, even offering to wash and fold my clothes at her home as I lay helplessly in the hospital. I was truly overwhelmed by the generosity and compassion that my colleagues were unconditionally giving me. This painful time was also a time for potent wisdom for me. I lay in my bed, a human pincushion, thinking about the things that mattered in my life. I realized that knowledge, fame, and money meant little in the face of looming death. Only one thing seemed important to me at that time. I wanted to taste my mother's dal. I had grown up eating lentil soup, and I had never really appreciated it, but at this time, it was the only thing that seemed relevant. My brush with death was also my call to gratitude. Now, scientists like to question data. So my friends and colleagues, trained as scientists, realized that there could be an alternative explanation to the data that was coming from my tests. They roped in another team of experts for opinion, including a colleague's family member who was the head of a diagnostic lab in a nearby hospital. So there were more tests and more results. And I remember the day the final verdict came. I was in hospital. There were 2 other patients in my room when the head of the hospital burst in and all excited, screaming, "You have tuberculosis!" It turned out that I had TB in my stomach, and the disease had lingered long enough to create cancer-like symptoms. It was curable. I was going to live after all. When my colleagues at the research center heard about this, they turned out en masse into the hallway screaming, "Kannan has tuberculosis! Kannan has tuberculosis!" There was so much celebration for my tuberculosis that the director of the institute had to come and quiet them all down. I would never have thought that anyone's tuberculosis diagnosis would be celebrated with so much glee. 2 weeks later, I walked out of the hospital that I thought I was never going to leave alive. I'm forever grateful for those lessons I've learned from my experience of almost dying. It is truly a blessing to have kind colleagues who care for you when you are down. My brush with death made me realize what it means to work in a compassionate workspace and why I would never work in any other place but this one.